Right, 10k subscribers, thanks a bunch. I'm not gonna waste your time, let's get into this. So question number 1 from some dirty degenerate called Tucket Flame. What's your most controversial Fallout opinion? You are trying to get me in trouble very quickly, so this is a great one for you to start on. Obviously, I'm going to turn off everyone who's listening. So, I didn't think this was controversial, but apparently me finding the hacking minigame to be boring or bad is very, very controversial. I've been called an idiot many a time. Look, I had no idea that video was going to be controversial. I thought it was just going to be a funny, oh yeah, this is one of those things everyone agrees with. But apparently, there are people that think they're big galaxy brains for just knowing how to do the hacking minigame. So I guess that's my most unpopular Fallout opinion. I was actually going to go on a rant about how I think level cap should be removed because I don't think they're very useful, but I think this is probably much more controversial because I've already been called a dumbass like 8 times for it. Question number 2 comes from Natalie Luca. They want to know, how long does it take me to make a comic? Well, that really depends on a number of factors. It depends how lazy I'm feeling primarily, because how lazy I'm feeling really dictates how fast I can do these, because if I'm really motivated, I can sort of like plow through like a whole comic. But if I'm like, I can't really be bothered today, it might take me a lot longer. On stream before, I've done 2 panels at a time, but also another factor is, how many panels is it going to be? Because early on I used to do like 4 pages of comics, but I didn't think that really fit the shorts format, because I find once they're over a certain threshold, they don't get as much attention. So it's probably better that I split them into 2 3-panel comics rather than doing one big 5-panel comic every week. Not to mention, I'm like right on the border of Millennial and Zoomer, so my attention span is like really, really small. I'm surprised I've got as many of the Scarlet Ranger pages done as I have, but I lose interest really quick because I'm very dumb. Now, I've just realized I've got off topic here, as I tend to do. So if it's a small comic, a couple days. If it's a 1 page, usually a week, I'm pretty slow. Question 3 comes from either Alex4 or Alexulx4, whichever one. I'm illiterate, sorry. They ask, why and how did you choose this drawing style? Okay, so there are a couple of reasons for this. Number 1, I am like so badly colorblind, it's not even funny, but it makes me hate coloring things. Whenever I color anything, I always find it ends up looking like weirdly childish. You know, I came up with a couple of ways to work around it, like reducing the opacity of the colors I thought would work, but even that has its, like, times it doesn't really work too well. So the second reason that flows into the first reason is I've always been a big fan of, like, black and white manga panels. Ever since I was a kid, when I was a wee baba, I wanted to be a mangaka, but those guys destroy their hands to do their job, and I was like, I don't really want carpal tunnel, so I thought, you know what, I'll just take it easy, maybe not do that. Not to mention, I think you need to be Japanese and in Japan, and I don't think my art skills are that great that I could make it in that industry anyway, so I basically just chose to take a lot of inspiration from the manga art. Another reason is it makes it quicker, it lets me get out a comic once a week, because if I had to get these out colored every week, I'd be like 1 every 3 weeks. It would take a million years. Not to mention, I feel like the lack of colors forces me to make the art interesting without adding color in there. So it puts more emphasis on the posing and the blocking of the scenes rather than me having to use colors to make things look fancy. Or at least that's the cope I tell myself to, you know, feel good about myself. Question 4 comes from Jay Dury, and they ask, how long have I been drawing? Literally since I've been able to. You know, when I was like a little 3-year-old, I used to do random Spider-Man characters, and people used to tell me they were good. And I think that little ego stroke kept me doing it forever. Question 5 comes from King of Shit Content. Well, that's a lovely name. Why do you wear an eye patch in your drawings? Oh, that's easy. It's because... Question 6 comes from my boy Genuine Guitar. Who is the true successor to the Great America in Fallout? I suppose if I had to say, the most legitimate rule would be the Enclave, because they're composed off of, like, pre-war government. So I suppose they'd be the person who, in like an ideal world, would be, well, not an ideal world, they'd be awful, but like, if you wanted to go with legally, which I don't really think exists in the post-nuclear world, they'd have the paperwork, basically. But I think if you want to say who actually has the right to, I guess whoever can hold on to it, I'd say the NCR, considering they are the biggest and probably most capable faction to do this. However, since the Fallout show, perhaps not. I just realized I said the Enclave. I know that's wrong, it's supposed to say Enclave, but for some reason, my brain always makes me say Enclave instead of Enclave. I don't know what, it's really weird. I am actually sorry, I know that's wrong. I'm one of those people that gets really annoyed when you hear someone mispronounce names in YouTube videos. It's like, it's actually said in game. Why are you people like getting this wrong? Same thing to people who call Eddie Edie. It's Eddie, they say. I say that like I haven't literally just made this mistake myself, so I guess, you know, pot calling the kettle black. I'm also listening to this now, saying like, well, my voice sounds like really deep when I'm not doing the YouTuber thing. That's really weird. Question 7 is a very existential one here from Bayonnaise, saying, why do you do? Because life is effort and I'll stop when I die. Question 8 comes from the Orange Stranger. How many hours have you spent playing the Fallout series? So originally I started playing Fallout on the Xbox, so all those hours are lost. And then for some reason, Steam doesn't track my Fallout 3 hours for some reason, so it eternally says 0, but no, I swear, I'm not a poser, I swear I played Fallout 3 for at least a minute, I swear. It's definitely in the thousands somewhere. I've done several playthroughs of New Vegas, and I spent a lot of time on the settlement stuff in Fallout 4, and then my Fallout 3 hours are just not tracked for some bizarre reason, but okay. The most succinct answer would be too many. Question 9 comes from Devil Red 18. Have you ever played any Fallout mods? If so, you might have heard my voice in there. I'm not really a big mods guy. I spent a lot of my childhood trying to get Smash Bros and Minecraft mods to work, so I'm not ready to go through that hassle all over again. I know it's probably going to be way easier than those, because Smash Bros modding was like, install the homebrew app, download this onto USB, it was all this bollocks. But I am sorry, I probably have not heard your lovely, lovely voice. Mwah. Question 10 comes from Cappy Crunch. They ask, why are you so handsome? Oh, thank you. Question 11 comes from Terradome. If you could choose, where would you put Fallout 5? If it was me, I think I'd pick New Mexico. I'd want something that kind of borders Nevada, so we can continue the story of the Legion and whatever goes on in New Vegas post Second Battle of Hoover Dam. I'd like them to pick an actual final canonical ending, because I don't like when the games are all like, oh, we're going to keep your choices vague, so no one's playthrough is invalid. No, I don't like that. That's boring and stupid. I vastly, vastly prefer the way Fallout 2 did it, where it was like, hey, these are all the canon choices that were made in the Fallout 1 playthrough, because I just think that's more interesting. You know, let's pick the outcome that has maybe the most interesting story, you know, potentials, and go from there. You know, side rant, if season 2 of the Fallout show tries to scoot around who won the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, I'm going to be mildly upset. Make a choice. Be decisive. None of this, oh, everyone's choices are valid. No, fuck off. But yeah, autistic rant aside, New Mexico, or somewhere where the effects of the previous games can still be felt, so you feel connected to them, but not so close that they limit what you can do too much. Honestly, I'm a little mixed about the idea of suggesting new Fallout game ideas or what I'd change about current games, because a lot of the time I find that, oh, if I want to change this thing or do it this way, why would I not just do my own thing with it, you know? These are basically my ideas at that point. It's where a lot of the ideas for the Scarlet Ranger comics come from. These are ideas that I've thought, oh, if I did this game differently, I would change this and this. But at that point, well, I should do my own thing with it rather than be like, here you go, Daddy Toddy, here are some ideas, you know what I mean? Question 12 comes from Lou Nguyen. They say, can you do a backflip? Of course I can, watch! Wow, wasn't that epic? Question 13 comes from Matran, and they ask, like someone else asked, why the eye patch? Well, I said before, but it's because... Question 14 comes from Tyler Surra. What got you into Fallout in the first place? So it's actually quite a funny story. So when I was younger, I was really into watching videos about video game Easter eggs. And this guy I knew in college was showing me, oh yeah, you might like Fallout then, because Fallout's full of those. He showed me all these videos. I think the first video I ever saw from New Vegas was the striped Gremlins Easter egg in Old World Blues, where a tiny mini Deathclaw comes out of Gabe's doghouse. And I was like, wow, look, references, they're the coolest. Which is really funny, because back then it was literally just the funny Easter eggs I just wanted to look at. But these days, I'm like so super invested into the lore that it's kind of weird. But yeah, I went into Fallout 3 expecting to find some funky Easter eggs, and I ended up just really enjoying the level of freedom that game gives you, because I was just like, oh, I could just go anywhere. Because before then, I wasn't really, like, you know, the most free game I played was probably San Andreas. But I feel like the level of freedom Fallout 3 gives you is like, you know, it's a lot higher because a lot of things are like very interactable in Fallout 3 versus San Andreas, where every building is basically a glorified big cereal box. And I always sort of thought Fallout 3 was cool, but eventually I gave in and did the switch over to New Vegas, and from there it just sort of took off, because New Vegas' lore is what hooked me. I was a pretty big fan by the time I finished Fallout 3, but when I was like halfway through New Vegas, I was like, oh my god, this is the nectar of the heavens. And I haven't really found anything that sort of scratches my itch for lore consistencies this well, like to this day. It's weird. The funny thing was, I actually ran into that guy again at the midnight release of Fallout 4, and he didn't recognize me. I was like, hang on, we spent all our college together, now you're like, who are you? I was like, oh, right, I see how it is. Question 15 comes from Gordanas, and they say, which Fallout game would you remake if you had the choice? The answer is Fallout Tactics. Tactics has like a super interesting story that I feel like a lot of people just don't really experience, because Fallout Tactics is kind of a weird game. I don't like the squad-based gameplay in Tactics. It's just not really my thing. I know it's supposed to be more of an homage to the original Wasteland series that inspired Fallout, but when I say Fallout, I usually like to think of one deckhead wandering the wasteland solving people's problems. But I love Tactics' vibe. It's got an amazing story and amazing atmosphere, and I'd love to see it remade with modern tech, so we could really appreciate it properly. Or not even like modern tech, remake it in the New Vegas engine. It's spooky, and I love it. Question 16 comes from Link, and they want me to rank all the Fallout games. Oh, this one's gonna make me some enemies, I guarantee. So I'm gonna be a massive normie and say New Vegas, because I just think it's the best one all round. It does everything the best, like relative to each other. Like, yeah, the gunplay is a little janky, but it's like saying that, like, the meal isn't presented too well, even though it tastes delicious. It's like, well, it doesn't really make a difference. It all gets turned into poo anyway. So number 2 would be Fallout 1 and 2 sharing a slot, because I like both their stories. They're both pretty good. Although, I know it used to be a common opinion that Fallout 2 was the best one. Now people prefer Fallout 1 over it. I think Fallout 2 does a lot of good despite all the wackiness. I like how interconnected all the settlements are. But Fallout 1's vibe is probably better than Fallout 2's because it's a lot spookier, so they sort of like, they're both a bit up and down on each other, so I think I'll smush them in the same spot. Third on the ranking will be Fallout 4. I think it's the funnest one to just mechanically play. It's definitely got a whole host of issues, but just due to the fact that I just have so much fun playing it, I've got to put it high. There's also a large nostalgia factor for this one, I'm just going to admit, because I don't think I've been as excited for any piece of media that I was for Fallout 4. That's the peak hype I'm going to be for anything in my life media related. I don't think it can get much higher than that. In many ways, the game was actually kind of a disappointment, but like, I've got too many happy memories with it to really feel any negativity towards it. And then fourth at last place is just Fallout 3. I like me some Fallout 3, but I think it's probably the weakest of the main ones, even though I do love it a lot. It's very lovely. I don't usually like to rank stuff because I do like all these games a fair amount. It's just, I never really thought about ranking them until just now, so there you go. 17 is a very strange one from Babyboy Thrawn on Twitter, and he's asked me, would I shag the ghoul? Thrawn, is this a metaphor for you? Are you hitting on me? Because, buy me a drink first, baby cakes. So I've lost track which number I'm on, but I think I'm on 18. The False Esquire asks, what is your most memorable enemy in-game that you consider your rival? Now, everyone's gonna make fun of me for this, as you did in the short, but it's gonna be bloatflies. I have a massive issue with bloatflies. I'm really bad with guns. So it's not that, you know, they tend to kill me. Well, in survival mode in Fallout 4, yeah, they do. Like, surprisingly, like, a surprising number of my deaths in Fallout 4 survival mode has come just from the bloatflies sniping me. Those guys are bastards in survival mode. I hate it. But yeah, no, unironically, bloatflies, because when I first started playing Fallout 3, I was on my way to Tranquility Lane to save Dad, and the amount of bloatflies that I ran into, that I try to get them, I try to kill them, but they take out like half my health. And I was like, well, I want my health for wherever the fuck I'm going, because I had no idea I was going into Tranquility Lane at that point. But the bloatflies would just take me down. So I was like, right, back to Megaton to get healed again. And then I just find another one, but like, well, the cycle repeats. Honestly, I am really bad at these games. I wouldn't dare record my own gameplay footage. The footage you see in the background is actually recorded by Tucker. If it was my footage, it would be mostly clips of me dying. I'm not good at these games. I just draw the funny Vault Boys. Question 19 comes from Blast610. Have you ever had sex in a Fallout game? No, I'm a virgin. Question 20 is from Samuel, and they ask, who's your favorite Fallout villain? And I'm just gonna say straight up, it's gotta be Frank Horrigan. Frank Horrigan's really spooky because he's clearly just this giant monster of a man in like full power armor. But like the issue with him is you see him a few times before you actually fight him. And that's a very difficult thing to pull off in the Bethesda games because you've always got to contrive reasons for why I can't just blast him in the face right now, right here. It's actually my issue with the encounter with Vulpes when you first meet him in Nipton. I've seen so many people in their playthroughs, they just immediately nuke Vulpes in the face because it's so easy to do just because you can save scum and you can get all these really cool weapons or you can adjust the difficulty. But basically just due to the fact that if someone pisses you off, you could just decapitate them in this game. It essentially means that you can't show an enemy and be like, oh look, here's Spooky Man. Because, you know, players are just going to go eat his face off. That's all they're going to do. Honestly, this is a whole separate rant, but the fact that you see Frank Horrigan early on, just in the Wasteland when you're at level 1, so clearly you can't fight him. And then the next 2 times you see him, it's on security camera footage. And only then after that do you get to fight him. And he's still really difficult. Someone in my comments said, he's apparently the only NPC in the game that's level 100 right off the bat. And it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know you could do that. Honestly, how great Frank Horrigan is could be its own video, so I guess I'll save that for another day. Question 21 comes from Oysternator, and they ask, if you could have any Fallout character back you up in the fight, who'd you pick? Easy, it's gotta be Boone. You know, he's loyal, he's reliable, he's really good with that rifle. I can't think of a better choice, to be honest. Maybe like one of the really big characters like Forks or Marcus. I feel like I'd get along really well with Forks because we're both big old history nerds, but at the same time, you know, something's got to be said for a stealthy boy who's good with a rifle. Question 22 comes from Gonzalek, and they say, Enclave or Brotherhood? Can I be controversial and say what's the difference? Question 23 comes from Skronk, and they say, is cheeseburger taco? No, it's a cheeseburger, you idiot. What do you mean? Question 24 comes from Alpha Mech, and they say, do you fear God? I mean, yeah, I guess. He's pretty scary, if you think about it. Listen, if Joshua Graham fears God, I fear God. Question 25 comes from Hunter1998, and it's just Fallout. Thank you for your contribution. So question 26 and 27 come from Sean Murchie. They asked this twice for some reason. Only fans win. Listen, buddy, if you'll pay me to look at my arsehole for some reason, I mean, I'll accept money. Come on, hand it over. I'm just saying, I got super chats and super thanks, you know, hand over some of that cash, buddy. Now, question 28, the final question, comes from Strawman SB. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to answer this one. This is a very long-winded one. It's, what are your thoughts on the Legion and how they tie into Honest Hearts? And that is just its own video. Like, I could probably talk about that for another 20 minutes, and I don't think we have time for that right now. Wow, that was gay. Thanks for the questions, lads. I hope my answers were at least semi-entertaining. I've got lots more of me rambling on the channel if you're interested in that sort of thing. The playlist over there. Thanks a lot. Bye.